Speaking in dead languages, knowing the unknown, levitating are all signs of demonic possession, a phenomenon believed by the largest religious denomination in the world, Catholicism. My name is Kayla, and welcome to Cauldron Convos. Happy spooky season, babies. This is me brewing a cauldron. Okay. I'm an AMC Stubbs member, not to brag, not to flex, weird flex. But I also was a former Movie Pass holder, so I feel like that gives me some credibility as a movie goer, a movie watcher, a movie critique, if you will. So basically, if you don't know what that is, I pay about $25 a month to see unlimited movies at AMC. So I could just go with my big fat popcorn bucket, smear butter all over that baby, and watch movies alone. But basically, I get really excited for fall, for Halloween movies, for horror movies, and I was on the AMC website perusing, as I usually do, and saw a new movie out called Pray for the Devil. Have you heard of this new movie?
I did see the trailer.
You did? Yeah. Would you like to give a little wrap up on what it's about?
Yeah, well, I can give my take on it. So it's about a nun. She goes into the Catholic Church, and then she's given the opportunity to become an exorcist. And she's one of the first females, if not the first female, to be an exorcist. When she starts exorcising people, she realizes that her mother was possessed. The same demon that she's exorcising from people is the demon that manifested her entire childhood.
Yep. I think she always realized that her mom was possessed because she was like a very religious person and would pray for the whatever to leave. But I think when she became a nun, it was probably like a full force, like, holy crap. Mom was really possessed, and now I gotta expel this demon. From seeing this trailer, I was like, okay, exorcisms, let's talk about it. It's almost Halloween. We wanna, dive into it. Are they real? What religions perform these? Is it believed by the Catholic Church? Before we dive into it, I just wanted to talk about kind of like the history of it, what religions believe in it, all of that jazz. I forgot to do the sign of the cross. Not that I'm super religious, but I just want to protect myself. I'm pretending like I'm spraying holy water. I don't have any, but we're just gonna squirt it all over. It's disgusting. Or is it? Sorry, I can't say that.
Probably shouldn't say squirt and holy water in the same
sentence. I also
sentence.
probably shouldn't say that's disgusting and welcome these things. No.
In the same sentence.
Stay back.
Squirt,
Stay
disgusting, back. And holy water
Stay
should
back.
not be in the
Stay
same.
Back. Oh, I used to love upside down crosses. That sounds bad, but it was a thing in high school.
That's not a thing.
In Tumblr.
Yeah,
era.
Maybe your high school, not mine.
Exorcism is a ceremony to expel demons from people who have come under their power, and exorcisms have been written about in the Bible. We love the Bible out here. In the Gospel of Luke.
All the books.
I forgot what it was called, but thank you. It's a book. It's called a book. So in the book, Gospel of Luke, a boy is possessed by a demon that makes him foam at the mouth and experience violent spasms. That must be really scary for the mother and father watching that, witnessing. But Jesus is shown to have a unique power to cast out demons and promises that his followers can also do this. Love you, Jesus. So in theory, does that mean I can perform an exorcism? Yes, I can, with the power of Jesus Christ, right?
Oh, well, Jesus is the only actual exorcist.
Okay.
And another example in the Bible is he cast a demon into a swine.
Interesting.
Got to eat that bacon, though.
Got to get that bacon. I had a McDonald's bacon biscuit cheese, whatever they're called. And they don't sell yogurt parfaits anymore at McDonald's.
I don't think a demon can possess bacon, but it can possess a swine. So by not eating bacon...
You're cooking it out. By killing the pig. So, what happens when you kill... Actually, this is a whole nother topic, but I guess I didn't realize what happens to someone who dies. What happens to the demon?
I don't know.
So why would they possess them and want them to die?
The soul isn't part of the possession. We'll get into that later.
Okay, we'll get into that later. Okay. Right now we're on the history, so let's just keep going. I'm just getting so excited by exorcisms, guys. I love this topic. Okay. I also saw this really creepy baby doll at CVS that was I literally just thought about demons when I saw it. Maybe I can get a photo of it and put it in, but dang, as the technology gets better and better, Halloween decorations are getting too real.
Yeah, you push the toe, the fat baby toe, and it slowly pulls the head off of a teddy bear.
It's play with me. Anyway, whatever. Okay. So we see it in the Bible. Okay, great. In ancient Mesopotamia, illnesses were thought to be the result of spirits and other entities inhabiting a person's mind, body, and soul. And Babylonians believed demons inflicted harm on a person's mind and body. Zar is a term used for spirit possession, common in Northern Africa, Eastern Africa, some parts of the Middle East. So clearly the practice of exorcism or belief in demons sort of like afflicting someone's mind, body, soul, is connected to many religions, including Hinduism, Islam, Judaism, obviously Christianity, Catholic Church. But the point is, it's not just the Catholic Church. And do you have any?
Yeah, well, I think that oftentimes people are kind of a little skeptical of demonic possession. And there are people in Christianity and I'm sure in Judaism that don't believe in it.
Yes, of course.
The point being is it is recognized in some degree in every single religion, more or less.
Definitely.
Maybe not Scientology, but...
Yeah. Actually, we should look into that. Scientology and demonic possession. No, they probably would be like, pay me $5,000 and I'll get rid of the demon for you. And then they'll be like,
L. Ron Hubbard's going to come down,
exactly.
Beam you to space, to Hail Bop.
Exactly. We love Hail Bop. No, we don't. Get out of here, Scientologists watching.
No, that's from the Heaven's Gate cult.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so basically, universally, it seems like demons, all over the world, people are recognizing them. That doesn't prove that, exorcisms are real or, I guess, work. That doesn't prove that demonic possession actually happens, but it's just an interesting kind of factor to throw out there that we do see it over time, over places. So now that we talked about the history of exorcisms, where people believe that, is that am I saying
your recognition?
Okay,
that's but it's everywhere.
It's everywhere. We are going to get into the symptoms of possession. In case you're like, what is causing this? You're on Google, you're like, why am I levitating? Why do I hate God all of a sudden? Why am I speaking Latin? In case you're Googling that, like on WebMD, don't worry, I got you. I'll read you the different, symptoms of demonic possession.
Break it down.
So, of course, I found 13 of them. The first being a loss or lack of appetite, which fine, like, understood, but that could also be like you're just taking Adderall or something like that. So we're not just saying...
Or hungover, sometimes,
Yeah, well, I feel like I do the opposite, but moving on. I'm just like, all the McDonald's in the world. Cutting, scratching, and biting of the skin, which again... Okay, like that could be something else. Doesn't necessarily...
Sounds like a tweaker, kind of.
Oh, geez. Is
not
that
eating. No, tweaker.
I feel like you shouldn't say tweaker.
Well, what is
twerker?
A crackhead.
Okay. Anyway, a cold feeling in the room. Now this, it's like, okay, what if the AC is too high or cold? High.
Too on.
But it's cold.
What if the AC is too low?
Yeah. Or just like, what if you have, I don't know, some people get cold.
Yeah, my parents' house is like, I don't know, 120 something years old, and like if you go in the closet in my bedroom, it's probably 15 degrees colder.
I don't like that
than
at all.
The actual room.
I don't like that.
Maybe maybe the closet's just possessed. There's like a demon in there.
Oh no, I hate
Closet
that.
Demon.
Stop. Let him out of the closet. He doesn't have to be that way anymore. It's 2022. We accept LGBTQ plus in this podcast. What? It's not that funny.
Including demons?
Yes, including all demons. Well, never mind. Get out of here. We don't accept you. It's not LGBTQ plus demons. No demons. Scratch that off. The next symptom is getting a little bit freaky here. Unnatural bodily postures and change in the person's face and body. So, like, that's when your face all of a sudden is like...
Like an allergic reaction?
Yes, but like if your arm is like contorting in a specific way, but that's actually a symptom of schizophrenia. I forgot what it's called, but I did learn about, what's it called? Like when you have like stiffening of the arms in a certain way.
The robot?
No, that's not funny. It's literally a symptom of schizophrenia. I'm over this. Okay. Anyway, whatever. All I'm saying is it's weird unnatural bodily postures, but it can be a symptom of mental illness, not just demonic possession. Here we go. Here's kind of an interesting one. The possessed losing control of their normal personality and entering into a frenzy or rage and are attacking others.
Also kind of sounds like a mental illness.
Yeah, also could be a mental illness. Change in the person's voice. I feel like you can also consider that with mental illness.
But this is where it gets creepy. We'll get into this a little bit later with some of the anecdotes, but when it comes to the actual possession and people speak, like a little girl speaking with a man's voice, that's where it kind of gets a little freaky.
But I can talk like this. Does this mean that I'm possessed?
I can talk like this.
You gotta like...
I can talk like this.
That's
not
scary.
Move your mouth, though.
I can talk like this.
No.
Supernatural physical strength, not subject to the person's build or age. That's weird, okay? But maybe it's adrenaline.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it could be.
Okay, speaking in tongues the person cannot have learned before. this is the craziest one for me personally.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, because this is something you can't necessarily like totally learn, like speaking ancient Greek or Aramaic or even Latin. I mean, I know they teach Latin, but if you see like a little kid just fluently screaming at someone in Latin, you're gonna be a little freaked out.
Now, I probably shouldn't admit this, especially on the internet, but while I was researching this, I was like, what if I learned ancient Latin?
To prank me,
just
or something?
to prank someone.
God, that'd
no,
be pretty
like
funny.
just to prank Father Vincent Lampert, who we'll talk about later, into thinking I'm
Father Vinny.
like that would be such a hardcore study, like research study, like learning ancient Latin just to like be possessed by a father.
That would be the ultimate prank video.
That would. Logan Paul. Knowledge of past events the person cannot have known about, knowledge of present events the person is not witnessing or having knowledge about, and prediction of future events that become accurate, sometimes through dreams.
And to kind of break that down, an example of that is from a possession story that we'll kind of go into later, but the priest who was actually exorcising a demon from a child, the child began to speak of the way the priest's mother had passed away.
Yeah.
And it freaked him out, because how would the kid know how his mom died?
But that's according to the priest. That's, there's no like footage, there's no proof that they didn't know. There's no proof that they even were talking about it. So whatever, moving on, Father. Levitation and moving of objects, things. Now this is kind of like not believable at all to me.
It's like either like Jedi mind tricks or it's like Chris Angel.
Yeah, doesn't make sense.
I mean, that's where just science kind of diverges from this.
Yeah. These we don't have to talk about much, but expelling of objects, things, certain animals, intense hatred, aversion, and violent reaction toward all religious objects or items. Like they're like,
Get this force away
That's
from
like
me.
When you put the crucifix on them and it goes tss,
yeah, or like
burns
holy
them,
water.
you know?
They hate holy whatever. Water. Antipathy towards entering a church, speaking Jesus' name, or hearing scripture. So a lot of these symptoms, I would say, like, okay, that could just be faked. That could be mental illness. There's no really proof of it. But, it's interesting. Like, if you show me someone levitating, if you show me someone speaking ancient languages, maybe I'll believe it a little bit more.
Yeah, I know that there are a lot of physical manifestations that also occur, like people slithering across the floor like a snake or climbing up the wall.
Yeah.
That stuff's kind of spooky.
Do you want to talk about any different demons?
So there are a number of different demons. Pazuzu, for example, there's the famous Zozo demon, which is kind of like an anecdote of like a Ouija board, where the Ouija board will go back from Z-O-Z-O-Z-O-Z-O, and it's saying its name Zozo over and over again. It could be just an internet telltale. But
I hate that.
There are different types of demons from different areas. Like you mentioned the Tsar earlier, which is originally from the Horn of Africa, and it came from Cairo, and the Tsar mostly possesses women and it tortures them to death, which is pretty brutal.
For us.
And another one kind of different than the normal demon that we would be talking about in this is a Wendigo or a Skinwalker. These would be Native American demons. Skinwalkers is a creature that basically they say has a human-like face and a crooked body with red eyes, and it can basically turn into a wolf or turn into a loved one, and it would basically, so pretend like you're at home alone and you think I'm in the woods, I would be calling you into the woods, but it wouldn't be me.
I feel like I've seen that in a movie or something. Well, now I want to talk about the Vatican, kind of their requirements for demonic possession, what they believe, their whole spiel on it. So it's actually interesting. In 2005, there were just 12 priests in the United States trained in exorcism. And now, apparently, there are either more than 50 or more than 100. I've heard two different stories. Don't know why. But, clearly there's more of a need, a demand. The supply is high. The demand is high. Actually, I'm sure the demand totally outweighs the supply of priests. But it's kind of interesting that the Vatican is training more and more priests on this, as well as they literally held like a convention in Baltimore in 2014 where all the exorcists turned up. They were like, so we turn up. Imagine going to that trade show or whatever convention. I would have loved to go like undercover as a nun. That would be, I don't even know if they would let me in. Probably not.
Unless you're this nun from the movie.
No.
But it's interesting because I saw that there were about 125 Catholic exorcists online.
Okay.
They're not online, but I saw that online.
According to the Vatican's guidelines issued in 1999, the person who claims to be possessed must be evaluated by doctors to rule out mental or physical illness before obviously a exorcism.
And something I saw online, I watched a couple of the interviews with Father Vincent Lampert, who is kind of the spokesperson for the Catholic Church when it comes to exorcisms, is that they have a large emphasis.
He's on way too many podcasts.
Can
we talk about that?
He's definitely a clout chaser.
If you type in just type in another tab, Father Vincent Lampert on YouTube, he's done maybe over 10 of these interviews on Vice, on, I don't know, this other podcast. I'm like, what are you doing? And he has the same spiel for every, I literally can find the same quotes.
The same quotes.
Father Vincent Lampert is one of the people that claim that levitation is real. He claimed that he saw it with his own eyes. He literally saw the priest have to push down the person in their chair, and that I don't know if I can get behind a levitation.
Well, something he said that was kind of interesting, which I kind of see as an out, is he would say, "Oh, a demon can change your perception of a situation," where he can say the demon will basically make it look like I'm levitating.
Oh, I see.
To you, but to somebody else in the room, I wouldn't necessarily be levitating.
And maybe it's kind of like hypnosis, where it's like you're in this kind of state of, I don't know, just it just probably is so weird being in the room during this, just the ceremony in general, by a priest doing this in front of you, that maybe your mind is even just creating kind of things, or maybe you see a little bit of a jump in the person or whatever, and it looks like they're levitating for a second, and your mind just kind of alters the situation. I don't know.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about the Enfield horror case in a little bit. It's what the second Conjuring movie is based off of, but they have photos of levitation, but you can kind of clearly see that she is just jumping off her bed.
Yeah.
So.
But I totally forgot we didn't even say that Father Vincent What the hell? I don't know. I almost said Father Vincent Lamppost. Father Vincent Lampert is an appointed exorcist in Indianapolis of the Archdiocese. He trained in Rome for 3 months, and he has this whole story where he was asked to fill in as the exorcist, and he has this whole
That's probably a true story.
And he was like, I hated it. I was cursing Jesus and God and whatever when he was asked to be appointed as this because he didn't want it, but now he's done so many and helped so many people. He said, in today's world, faith seems to be in decline, but there may be more people that are opening themselves up to the reality of evil. So why would he say that in an Exorcist interview? Why is he linking faith seems to be in decline, but there may be more people that are opening themselves up to the reality of evil? It seems
well, maybe that's why there's faith decline, because faith declining coincides with people becoming,
or they want people to believe in demonic possessions and exorcisms because faith is declining.
Oh, so that the more possessions there are. Because,
yes.
I mean, hey, if I saw a priest cast a demon out, shit, I'm going to church every Sunday.
Maybe this is a whole ploy by the Catholic Church to be attendance is on the decline. We're not getting as many donations. We got to get people to start believing in this.
We have to have more possessions.
We have to have more YouTube videos. We have to have more interviews of you talking, Father Vincent Lampert. Not that he's super believable or anything. No offense to him. I'm sure he's a great guy. But another thing he constantly says is when people say, what would you say to the skeptics out there? He always says that he should be the most skeptical of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, because that would be technically his job. The last thing
yes.
he wants to do, and he is a good priest in that sense, is he doesn't want to perform an exorcism. He wants people to be sick.
Yeah, he said, I should be the last one to believe that a person is really up against the forces of evil, because 99% of the time, he claims, they're not actually possessed. There's a mental illness going on or a physical illness going on, which is good. It's good that they're not all of these people are possessed by the devil. Let's grab them and exorcise them all. That's fine. But it is a little sketchy. They don't have videos of it. They don't have audio recordings of it. But if they did, would anyone believe it? Would people think it's fake?
I think with modern day manipulation, and he did say 1 in 5,000 cases they get is an actual demonic possession. And then an interviewer was asking him, why don't you think that a celebrity would be possessed? And he says the devil is kind of a low-key Lola, likes to stay under the radar, which I understand.
Why would they want that? Why wouldn't the demonic whatever beings want to get attention of the whole world?
He had some sort of answer, but I don't remember.
Why wouldn't they go into a celebrity but not want the celebrity or anyone around the celebrity to know that they're possessed, and just doing starting to do weird things and getting other people to be evil? Wouldn't
Megan
they want
Fox, right? You showed me
True.
this video yesterday.
Megan
of
Fox,
Megan
are
Fox,
you okay?
Drinking blood.
Megan Fox and Machine Gun Kelly, are you okay? I did see people said that she's sucking the life out of him. She's she's literally drinking his blood, but that's a whole other point. But basically, Father Vincent Lampert noted that the Catholic Church won't record the exorcisms to keep the people's identities concealed. So that makes sense, but I don't know. It just seems weird to me, this whole thing about Father Vincent Lampert. I feel like there's going to be an expose one day and like Father Vincent Lampert exorcising a person and accidentally kills them. Like, that's happened.
Do you want to start talking about those cases?
Sure.
So here are some cases of real exorcisms.
Let's start with Anneliese Michel. What? How do we pronounce this?
Michel, right? She's German.
Anneliese Michel was a devout Catholic growing up. She went to Mass twice a week, and at 16, she entered a trance-like state and went to a neurologist who diagnosed her with temporal lobe epilepsy, so she started taking medication for this. The medication obviously didn't work, or else we wouldn't be right here talking about her, unfortunately, but she kept getting worse, and she felt like she was possessed by a demon and claimed this. She was doing really disturbing things, like crawling around the floor, barking like a dog, compulsively doing 400 squats a day. This sounds gross, but, peeing. Can I say peeing? Probably. And licking up her urine. Just Google it if you want more kind of heinous details on it, because I don't want to get too much into it. But eventually, 67 exorcisms were performed on her, and she believed she was possessed by a list of 6 different demons. And there are audio recordings of her talking in these different voices. It's pretty disturbing how low and weird her voice is getting in these. So if you want to listen to it, do it.
Yeah, I listened to it.
Okay, I thought you were going to pull it up.
Do you want to pull it up? It's kind of frightening.
No, yeah, I feel like we should save that unless people are like, please.
User discretion advised.
Yes, user discretion advised.
I personally would not want to listen to that again. But basically, she had all of these demons. It's on YouTube. It's quite scary. Yeah. And the aftermath of this was her death, which is super unfortunate because she was so young. She
ended up passing away in 1976 at just 23 of malnutrition and dehydration. And the 2 priests were actually found guilty of manslaughter for this. They were charged. Her parents were, I think, put on trial, but weren't actually charged.
It's interesting, and it's crazy to think that she weighed 66 pounds when she died, and she had broken knees.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a really sad case where maybe she was mentally ill, and did she need 67 exorcisms? I feel like after the first 5, they could have been like, all right, this ain't working, we needed something else. I would have just been trying different pills, that sounds bad. Don't clip no one clip that, but I feel like a psychologist or psychiatrist should have been prescribing different things to fix the chemicals in her brain, or maybe she should have gotten electric shock therapy.
She was on antipsychotic treatment.
Okay, so I don't know. I guess one last point about her, it is interesting that she was a devout Catholic that went to Mass twice a week. I feel like these things are happening more to Catholics for some reason. Is it because, I don't know, the devil is listening to them more and wants to mock them? Is it better if I just not read the Bible? Why are they preying on Catholics? Or is it Catholics who believe in these evil things, so they're kind of conjuring it up in their mind? I don't know. So I did read an interesting story that I want to pull up and touch a bit upon, because it does claim that witnesses like a nurse and even a police officer back up the story, which kind of is the most proof for me personally.
I would say that those are the most credible sources,
yes,
in my opinion, out of all of these people. And I would trust a priest. Let's be honest. I would definitely trust a priest.
What?
Just in general. No, I'm just okay. I'm talking.
What are you talking? What are you doing?
Sorry, I kicked something.
I wouldn't trust a priest.
No, I said I would trust a priest.
I wouldn't, though.
You wouldn't trust a priest?
No.
Well,
a Gary, Indiana mother of 3 claims demons caused her 12-year-old daughter to levitate and her 9-year-old son to walk on a hospital ceiling, which were both supported by medical personnel and police officials, which is pretty weird and I feel like believable. They had this house looked at by 2 clairvoyants who claimed that there were more than 200 demonic spirits in this house. The family's church recommended pouring olive oil on her 3 children's hands to cleanse it. Also good if you're
Grease
making pasta. There were accounts of, objects flying across the room, all the typical demonic possession symptoms.
Now, something to note is, how are objects flying across the room if their hands are covered in olive oil?
Because they are using their mind. They don't need to use their hands because they're demonically possessed.
Imagine the mess that would make.
Everything's slipping and sliding.
They're
all the
running around the house.
Are flying.
Running on the walls.
The mother even found her youngest son, just a 7-year-old boy, talking to a boy that wasn't there. But, claiming that he was talking to someone who was telling him to kill people. I think. Sorry, her son allegedly told her that the other child was describing what it was like to be killed. I'm sorry. I really am sorry to the ghost child that I offended. Ooh. I didn't mean to say that. What?
That's scary.
I didn't mean to say that you were telling him to kill people. I misread. You actually were just describing how it was to be killed, which I'm sorry. That doesn't sound good. Not long after that, the mother claimed that her 7-year-old flew out of a bathroom, which usually you're flying into the bathroom after a bowl of Chipotle, am I right? Okay. And that her 12-year-old daughter required stitches after being hit in the head. They don't specify what she was hit in the head with, but
that sounds like child abuse.
It wasn't a flying poo because he ran. Oh no, he flew out of the bathroom. So maybe it was him. He flew out of the bathroom, smacked her in the head. Now she needs stitches. Now she's going to the hospital. Now Department of Children's Services are knocking at the hospital door like, hey, ma'am, we heard that your kid's beat up. Your other kid's beat up. What's going on here?
So what'd they do?
They claimed it was demonic possession, of course, but I'm pretty sure DCS took the children for a point in time. We're evaluating the mother, seeing if she was unfit, seeing if it was really demonic possession. And here's where it gets spooky, where we'll talk about the players at the hospital besides Department of Children's Services. I thought it was
DCS.
I thought it was C something.
CPS.
Child Protective Services. What's the difference? Someone in the comments go off. About a month later, in April, the family went to see Dr. Geoffrey Onyuku, whose encounter with the children was one he said he'd never forget, which I'm sure I would never forget that either, especially if they come in with olive oils on their hands. Olive oils? Why would
you imagine two kids just slipping in, sliding, like, making a mess of the office?
Yeah, they're like, hey. They probably smell okay, though.
Yeah, going through all the magazines, just getting them all greased
Ooh.
up.
A quote from this physician was, 20 years and I've never heard anything like that in my life. I was scared myself when I walked in the room, as he should have been. Even if they're not demonically possessed, they're talking to imagination people. I'm just picturing people at Disney World like, imagination people.
Meanwhile, this is like demonic possession.
I meant ghosts, yes. It's not Disney. The ghost of Disney. We should do that. Okay. Write that down. According to a report by Department of Children's Services, DCS, one of the boys began cursing at this physician in a demonic voice. He and his brother then abruptly pass out and wouldn't come back too.
Jeez. So I guess he wasn't going to ever forget that encounter, not only for the olive oil hands and feet, but also for the demonic voice.
But they both passed out. How can you fake a pass out? Like, I've passed out once, and how do you fake it? I guess you just, yeah. Yeah. But apparently it took 5 men to hold the 7-year-old boy down.
Damn.
Which I guess, like Stevie, our dog, who probably weighs less than a 7-year-old boy, do you think we could pin her down? Let's try it.
I mean, I could see it taking 5 men to pin a 7-year-old down if he's covered in olive oil.
True. Slipping and oh god. The children's behavior was so unusual and unexplainable that doctors feared their mother was suffering a mental illness and possibly encouraging the children to act this way. But she was evaluated by a psychiatrist and was found to be sound of mind. This part's funny. Well, not really, but DCS family case manager Valerie Washington was called in to evaluate the children. When she met them, the youngest started to growl and flash his teeth at her. His eyes then rolled back into his head. The 7-year-old lunged for his older brother and put his hands around his throat while saying in a voice that wasn't his own,
"It's time to die. I will kill you,"
according to Washington's report. Once released from his brother's grasp, the 9-year-old allegedly started headbutting his grandmother. No, don't do that to your poor grandmother. Also, the grandma was there, the mom was there. Why wasn't the grandma looked at? Maybe she was telling the kids to be demonically possessed. But then why would they headbutt her? They would be like, go grandma, go grandma.
Go grandma.
This DCS report is corroborated by Willie Lee Walker, a registered nurse who was in the room with them. He walked up the wall, flipped over her, brackets the grandmother, and stood there. Walker told the Star, there's no way he could have done that.
Especially greased up with olive oil.
Okay. And also in her report to police, the boy was described as gliding. So...
I mean, I'd be gliding if I had
yeah,
olive oil
I know.
on my feet.
That was what I was getting at there. The following day, the hospital chaplain... What's a chaplain?
It's like the priest of the hospital.
Oh, no. So the priest of the hospital called Reverend Michael Magnet, asking him to perform an exorcism on the 9-year-old boy.
You know what's bad? If a priest is calling a priest to perform an exorcism.
Yeah, well, not all priests can perform exorcisms. Didn't you know this?
Yeah, we knew this.
Didn't you read about the Baltimore Convention? A Gary, Indiana police captain, Charles Austin, went to this demonically possessed house, apparently, and said that during the visit, weird, funky stuff was happening. He now believes in both ghosts and demons, and he also vowed to never go inside the house again.
Now, I keep forgetting that this is in Gary, Indiana, and that really says something. It's a hard place, you know? It's not a great place to be living, and a police captain there has probably seen some shit.
Yeah, he's probably, he's already seen all of these other gross serial killer stuff. Drugs,
Michael Jackson's
gangs,
house.
Michael Jackson. Okay, bye. I don't know what to say. It's Michael Jackson that's demonically possessing the children. Ooh, he's the boy in the closet. During their ward trip, the children were given evaluations by separate psychologists, and each evaluations report concluded that the children's behavior was reinforced by their mother or relatives. So that's what the psychologists were saying.
The nurse, the caseworker, and the doctor
all were kind of corroborating in some way or another this story, so I don't know. What do you think, guys? Leave it in the comments below. Charles Reed, the owner of this Indiana home, claimed that he had never heard of such problems before the family moved in, and another renter has since moved in and hasn't made any complaints either. I kind of want to follow up on that.
Yeah.
Like, who is the guy that lives there? Maybe he's a Satanist. Maybe he wants to be there.
A priestess.
Yeah, a high priestess. Maybe he's demonically possessed and the demon has him so wrapped up in it that he's like, nope, nothing's happening. You know, you never know. Or maybe it's just she was abusive to her children and yeah, not a good case. However, it is interesting because I saw another article where Netflix is reportedly making a movie on this. We're getting a full movie of the guy headbutting his grandma and all the olive oil. I wonder if they'll feature olive oil in the movie. I hope so.
They feature
or
them gliding
inaccurate.
around. Now, that's so interesting because I feel like every exorcism movie is about an old exorcism. Like the exorcism of Emily Rose, the exorcism of The Conjuring 2, for example, was about the Enfield horror case. Do you want to talk about that case now?
In 1977, a single mother in England reported moving furniture, knocking sounds, and that her children were levitating, of course. And there's actually a BBC interview on this exact case, Enfield Horror, or Enfield Poltergeist, some people say, which actually inspired, like you said, the movie Conjuring 2.
Which is a terrifying movie, and I think they do a good job of picturing it. Again, I've seen it once, and I saw it a while ago when I was a little bit more susceptible to horror movies.
Yeah, but The Conjuring, I mean, there's so many of them, I think.
Like 6 or 7.
In this BBC interview, they actually show the 2 daughters of this family, the younger one specifically, talking in a crazy, weird, low voice and being interviewed.
When it comes down to actually being demonically possessed, I think it's very interesting when they speak in low voices because only something like a gas can really do that. It would either be going slower or faster out of your vocal cords, but you can't physically change your vocal cords.
They weren't that low, I feel like.
Let the listener be the judge.
You go listen to it. You can literally go on YouTube and look at the BBC interview where she will be talking in her weird voices. And when I watched these YouTube videos, I thought that it was all fake. I was not having it. I was very skeptical of it. But I did read that more than 30 people said that they had witnessed either the heavy furniture moving, the girl levitating, or objects being thrown across the room. But take that with a grain of salt because in those 30 people, it was neighbors, reporters, interviewers, whatnot, which
people who could benefit from potentially it being real.
Exactly. Like, how do we know that the reporters and interviewers aren't just saying that? Like, how do we know that they just want to get that bag, get that coin? Like, what are they going to do? Go all the way to England, do this BBC interview, and not collect the check?
Yeah, that's like the moon landing. It's like, did you get all these people in on one conspiracy? That's nonsense. You can't get all these people to agree. So there's some truth behind that.
Well, a 2016 article by psychology professor Chris French in Time Out magazine actually described 5 reasons why he believed that this case specifically was a hoax. His reasons being the 2 sisters involved admitted that hoaxing was a part of this whole thing. So they admitted to the hoax. You can't do that. You can't be like, oh yeah, this was a hoax, but this was actually real. Like, yeah, I did jump off my bed. That was fake. But, like, the voice was real. I was really demonically possessed. You can't do that, Boy Who Cried Wolf, girls who claim demonic possession. You can't do it.
Yeah, we didn't even really touch upon those photos. They had pretty compelling photos at the time of the little girls levitating. But, I mean, I could recreate that photo in my bedroom. Give me 30 seconds. I'll just jump off my bed.
Actually, I can't. No space. Yeah, so that was actually one of the reasons he explains why he doesn't believe in this at all, is the photo of her levitating above the bed, him noting that it could just literally be her jumping off the bed, which I think it was. The spirit of an old man who supposedly possessed Janet took a great interest in menstruation.
Oh.
I know, which is disturbing.
Sicko.
I know. Ew, I just, like, hate thinking about that. But, like, how would a little girl think of that? I guess maybe she did get the Mother Nature called and she was just fascinated. Maybe something changed in her brain when she went through puberty. I don't know. I don't think she was demonically possessed, but that's just my take on it. So basically, eyewitnesses are notoriously unreliable. Okay, sir. Well, then how would they ever have the news? It's always like eyewitness. It's literally called eyewitness.
It's called eyewitness news. ABC 7 eyewitness news.
Yeah, so get out of here. But I do agree with him on the other takes. And then he says other schoolgirl pranks before and have gotten out of hand.
Oh,
I'm
get
like,
out of here.
Creepy, just as creepy as the menstruation point.
Yeah. He didn't mention anything about ventriloquism.
Oh, yes. So you
or
believe that or no?
That
no, you think it's
what
real.
Scares me. I believe that. I think the Latin and the ventriloquism are the two most fascinating pieces of demonic possession, because those are the ones that you can't really explain.
Yeah.
Because I can't speak Latin. I'm not going to learn Latin overnight just to be possessed.
I am.
Well, like Logan Paul, right?
Yeah, me and Logan Paul pull up with the YouTube channel. That's a wrap on that case. I don't believe it. I don't like it. Who knows? But we're moving on. But it was interesting that this guy, Chris French, was a psychology professor. It's interesting that they have all this psychology, psychiatry kind of overlap with the demons, because they have to. They have to be the ones that filter out the mental illness from demonic possession, because that's the thing that's the only, like, explainable thing that they could say, that they could reason it, is that it's mental illness, not demonic possession.
Yeah, if you were to look at somebody who is demonically possessed 1,000, 2,000 years ago, realistically, they'd probably be schizophrenic or suffer from another mental illness. So I think treating it with psychology and psychiatry is a perfectly normal, rational way to come across this.
Yeah, they literally had people in mental asylums not treating them well, like in the 1900s.
They were doing lobotomies. Recently. Who knows?
I mean, yeah. In Googling this, I did find an interesting article from the Washington Post labeled, "As a psychiatrist, I diagnose mental illness and sometimes demonic possession." And this guy studied at Princeton, Columbia, and Yale, which don't want to judge him based on his credentials, because I did that with the priest. Well, actually, I did the opposite. I didn't want to trust someone because they were a priest, but now I want to trust this guy just because he went to these schools, which why? Why? What if his daddy gave a football field? So a Catholic priest came to him asking him for his opinion on whether a woman, this high priestess, satanic woman, was possessed or if it was just mental illness. He claims that she knew how individuals died, individuals that she did not even know. She knew about the death, she knew the details, including his own mother. 6 separate people noted that she spoke in different languages during exorcisms, such as Latin, languages otherwise not known to her. As a result, he did in fact conclude that she was possessed and not just mentally ill.
And that's somebody with all those degrees. Interesting.
Yeah, and as a result, for the past 2 decades, he has helped the clergy in several hundred cases filter episodes of mental illness from possessions.
Now that's literally the Lord's work, no pun intended. Because it's 1 in 5,000. That's what the Father Vinny said.
Yeah.
So he has some work to do. That's a lot of people.
In conclusion with this Washington Post article, I don't know what I want to believe with it, honestly. I do think it's fascinating, how he was a skeptic at first and now he literally does this for a living and has screened hundreds of people. Is that enough evidence for me? No, but that kind of swayed me a little bit more in the, okay, maybe they are real. But generally, I am concluding that I don't necessarily believe in demonic possessions just because of the lack of evidence with it and the few cases being a lot of hoaxes.
As a man of the scientific method, I am compelled to believe certain things and not believe other things. I think that it's very interesting that people can manipulate their voices as well as objects.
But when it comes down to mental illness, I think mental illness is very real, and a very thorough psychiatric evaluation should be had before any form of demonic possession. But as a man of the Lord, I do believe in demonic possession.
I think it's a little coincidental that all these religions and different areas in the world over time believe in some type of demonic possession and even have text and images and whatnot of this. Does that mean that it's true? No, it doesn't. The famous cases of demonic possession, they don't really sway me in one way or the other. It is interesting how many witnesses corroborate the story. I guess some of the audio recordings are a little freaky, especially the Anneliese Michel one for me. I don't really believe in it. However, if more compelling evidence comes out, or maybe more cases, that sounds bad. I'm like waiting for someone to be possessed by the devil or whatever. But maybe if more things come out, I will start believing it a little bit more. But I am very skeptical still, even after watching Father Vincent Lampert, all of these cases, learning about the history of exorcisms. I am still a skeptic. Good night, folks. Hope the boogeyman doesn't get you. Don't play with black magic. No Ouija boards unless you're a high priestess, then maybe, I guess. If you like this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Comment any suggestions you have for future videos. Like this video, and I'll see you guys next time on Cauldron Convos. Bye, babies.